Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your April 2018 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, Gemini, there's a lot of idealism for you in April. And this is because as the month opens, the Sun and the Mercury retrograde are both in Aries. And this is your 11th house of hopes and wishes. The 11th house is considered the luckiest house. And so when you have energy concentrated here, going to have a new moon here as well in April, but there's this sense of possibility. And so with Mercury retrograding in this house, you may be rethinking some of your long-range goals. And this may be because of something that has happened that has made you rethink what it is that you really want out of life. You know, think about the 10th house. The 10th house is your career aspirations, are your career aspirations. And that's all well and good, but that is not you in your entirety. You know, you are like a multifaceted being, and so you're going to have different areas of life that you want to accomplish different things. You may have, thinking to yourself, do I want to have a family? If you're, within that age range, if you want to be alone, or do you want to have a love partner? Now, if you don't have one right now, you have the right, you have free will, and you can travel alone if you want through life. You don't have to have a partner just because most people tend to do so. And so it's all about finding out what works for you in all areas of your life, Gemini. And so in any case, so you have this Sun there, which the Sun really exerts a powerful influence, and the Mercury retrograde is in there as well. And then on the 15th of the month, Mercury turns direct. And then on that same day, there's a new moon in Aries in that same house. So it's almost like the universe is having you mull something over, and then the mid-month period is like that symbolic, green light to move forward. And the 11th house is also the house of friendships. So this may be tied into this as well, where you're rethinking your social circle. Maybe you've outgrown your friends, or at least some of them. And with Gemini, there's often a real social network that you've put into place. And yet, in some of your deeper moments, you may consider, are these people adding to my life? Maybe they're people you've known since high school and you've lived in the same basic area most of your life, and they're like siblings to you. So you're kind of like reluctant to break away from that because it's so much a part of your life. But you may sense that they are keeping you back. If they're not just an outright bad influence, you may just have grown in opposite directions and you don't have much in common anymore. And so you're rethinking investing so much time in this circle of friends. Now, as I say, that may not be true for everyone. These transits affect people in ways particular to them. And of course, likewise, the degrees really matter of your sun or rising sign. So if you want something that is specific to you, please check my link below to my website, because I do have personal readings for your astrological chart. And it can be much more precise in terms of honing down your own journey. But these readings can still be helpful because whether it's exactly what is happening to you right now, it may have happened in the past, in the recent past, or it may be going to happen in the future in some of these cases. So let's see what's happening. So Mercury goes direct on the 15th. The new moon is there in that 11th house as well. I just talked about your friendships. And Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, begins the month in your 12th house. And on the 24th, it goes into your sign in the first house. So for most of the month, Venus is in a hidden area, which has to do with past lives. So this could be a twin flame situation. Gemini, you could be dealing with somebody who is a soulmate or a twin flame, because the 12th house can be karmic, past life oriented, but just somebody who you have to be on the down low with. So it could be somebody who is married, and you're kind of sneaking around. And then on the 24th, Venus goes into your sign, and this gives you a special glow. There's just something about you that is really attractive to others, and therefore you attract good things to you, Gemini. And Venus is very playful in Gemini, very flirtatious. When Venus is in Taurus, she is very jealous and sensual. So Mars is in Capricorn all month long, and it's funny because I didn't even cover Mars in the readings I've already done for the astrology for this month for the other signs. And so Mars is in Capricorn, which is a very practical energy. For Gemini people, Capricorn is your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money. Now, in terms of the sex part, this could be, going back to that Venus in the 12th house, you may be hot and heavy with somebody, Gemini, because Mars is a sex drive, and the 8th house is intimacy, including sexual intimacy. And because Venus is in that 12th house until the 24th, there may be, something that you have to hide when it comes to love. And usually that's a booty call on steroids. So I'm going to just leave that there. And what else is going on? Well, the other thing, too, is that the 8th house deals with possible inheritance issues. So there could be a fight, Mars can be conflict. There could be a fight going on between between parties within a state, and that could be consuming some of your time as well. And so, okay, well, let me just go back to something that I don't think I really got into. When the new moon comes on the 15th, the same day that Mercury goes direct, I think, Gemini, you're going to have a better sense of the direction you want to take in life. See, until that time, for the few weeks of the Mercury retrograde, you may even be a bit confused. You may be feeling that you're at a crossroads at this point in time. And you just may feel like you don't know which way to turn. Because the 11th house can be long-range goals. And you may even have a falling out with a friend or a group of friends because of your soul searching. Or at least if it's not your soul that you're searching, you're just searching that part of you that is dreaming very big. And so when the new moon hits and Mercury goes direct, you're going to know exactly what you want to pursue and what you don't necessarily want to pursue anymore. And that will kind of clear things up for you. But there are a couple of planets that are going retrograde in April, and they're both in Capricorn. Saturn is in Capricorn, and Saturn went into Capricorn back in late December. And so Saturn goes retrograde on April 17th in that 8th house. Pluto goes retrograde on the 22nd of April in the 8th. And with Saturn retrograding, anything that involves, like if there is some kind of an estate situation going on, a fight, and you have to do something, Saturn is going to make it harder for you to do it. So maybe you are the one in the family that's in charge of getting all the paperwork taken care of so that this situation can be resolved. And maybe you don't know what to do about it. You don't know, it seems like it's taking so much out of you that it's a daunting task, and that roadblocks are being thrown in front of you. But just take things a little at a time. Likewise, did I say likewise before? If there's any kind of issue that the 8th house represents for you, for instance, metaphysics, maybe you're studying the tarot or astrology, or maybe you are taking a course in honing your intuition or even channeling, reading the Akashic records. Something may have seemed easier in the past, and all of a sudden there's a challenge before you, but it's temporary. This too shall pass. When Saturn goes direct, it'll be smooth sailing ahead. Well, as smooth as Saturn can be. But in terms of, and one more thing I wanted to say about this, because the 8th house can also be the house of detox. So it can be like like a psychological detox, an emotional detox of things that happened to you when you were young, traumas, and, of all varieties, that you want to purge. It's a purging house, purging influence with Pluto. And you have Pluto and Saturn. You have Pluto in its own house. So this is uncharacteristically intense for Geminis, this influence. But it can really transform you into something that is great. And you may be quite a different person when Pluto leaves in 2023. And, confronting the shadow side. I think a lot of Geminis don't like even acknowledging that there's a shadow. If you do get into anything new agey, you might be the first one to say love and light. And I might throw up in my mouth a little bit if I hear that one more time. But I'm not a Gemini, I'm a Sagittarian, so there you go. And that kind of thing can, that was, somebody was talking about that. I think there's always that concern is that we do not use something like the New Age, or if you want to call it metaphysics, or you want to call it the awakening, whatever you want to call it, don't use that as an excuse to hide behind these these minimizing slogans, empty slogans that are just trying to see everything from a rosy perspective when that's not how life works. Just like sometimes we have good days and sometimes not so much. Well, we also have things in life in general that are really positive and some that are in darkness. And if you're afraid of the darkness, you can't transcend it because you're pushing it away. That which we resist persists. So there's nothing positive about resistance. It's all about refusing to accept what is in this moment. Doesn't mean it has to be a permanent reality, but it is what it is. That's why the phrase "it is what it is" actually quite profound and can be a helpful phrase. It's not a meaningless phrase at all. So that's happening. And I'm trying to think if I wanted to say anything else about this. Well, I think I'll leave it there. The Pluto retrograde can really, now since it's in the 8th house, can really make you have to be forced to look at your shadow side for some reason. The 8th house can also be about detox of all kinds. So you may find that in the next several months, Gemini, you feel compelled to do something along these lines. That maybe it's some kind of a detox that you had done before and you want to try it again because you had good results, but maybe you quit too soon or what have you. And then on the 29th of the month, there is a full moon in your sign. Not in your sign, in Scorpio. I was looking at your sign. And this is at 9 degrees of Scorpio in your 6th house of health. So that's interesting because I'm just talking about detox. The full moon is a time of detoxification. The 6th house is the house of health. So, the fact that Pluto went retrograde in the 8th house on the 22nd, then you have a full moon exactly a week later in the 6th house, means that some of that detox could be physical. And it will affect you, even if you do just a physical detox, it will naturally affect your mood. It will naturally affect the way that you handle stress. And so it can be very positive overall. And one last thing that I wanted to say, by the way, with the full moon in the 6th house, you could find something out about your health, maybe something that had been plaguing you, you finally get a name for it. And it can be also a time when you are ending a workplace situation or a job. Maybe it was an assignment and things are just kind of wrapping up at the end of April. But getting back to Venus going into your sign on the 24th, when Venus is in the 1st house, it's such a great time if you're looking for a job to market yourself. It's like you become your greatest tool for marketing, not even your resume or anything like that, because Venus is the attractor and the 1st house is the house of the self. So it's the image that you project. It's what people first see when they meet you. And with Venus here, you're like irresistible. You're very popular. People want to help you. And your words, what you deliver, comes out very nicely. And so if you're selling anything, you can be much more convincing. Okay, I think I'll leave it there, Gemini. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below to go to my online store. Take care. Bye.